All right. For our last chunk of lectures for what I would consider the first unit of the course, this unit on the basics of supply and demand, we're going to talk about public goods. And public goods are a type of good that can lead to market failures. For the first part of this course, for the first six topics we've covered, we haven't worried about what kinds of goods we're analyzing. But now we're going to start off by characterizing different kinds of goods. And to characterize those goods, we look at two key characteristics. The first is excludability. Excludability is whether suppliers can prevent people who don't pay from consuming the good. Or maybe more generally, you could say it's whether you can prevent particular people from consuming the good. The second key characteristic is rivalry in consumption. Rivalry in consumption is whether the same unit of a good can be consumed by multiple people at the same time. So, to give a couple quick examples, first for excludability, you can think of a cup of coffee as an excludable good. If you're a coffee shop, it's pretty easy to prevent people who don't pay for your coffee from consuming your coffee. You just don't give it to them. You don't make it for them. On the other hand, if you are a construction company that builds sidewalks, it's hard to prevent people who don't pay for your sidewalk from consuming your sidewalk. When it comes to rivalry and consumption, we can use the same two examples. A cup of coffee is a rival good. That's because if I'm drinking the coffee, that means you're not drinking the coffee. Only one person can drink the coffee at a time. On the other hand, a sidewalk is non-rival. And that's because if I'm walking on the sidewalk, there can also be a million other people walking on the sidewalk at the same time. And in doing so, we are both consuming the sidewalk at the same time. Great. So there are four possible combinations of those two key characteristics. And those four possible combinations define the four types of goods that we see in the world. The first type of good is called a private good. A private good is both excludable and rival. An example is coffee, like I talked about before. Coffee is excludable because if you don't pay for it, it's easy for coffee shops to prevent people who don't pay for the coffee from consuming it, and it's impossible for multiple people to consume the same coffee at the same time. Another example is an ice cream cone. You know, an ice cream shop can prevent people who didn't pay for its ice cream from consuming its ice cream, and only one person can eat any given amount of ice cream at the same time, or at a given moment. No two people can eat it at the same time. Pretty much every good we have looked at in this course so far has been a private good. And that's been a major reason why our markets have worked well in all scenarios other than uh when there are externalities. Great. The second kind of good is called an artificially scarce good. An artificially scarce good is excludable but non-rival. An example of an artificially scarce good is an on-demand movie, like a movie that you would stream on Netflix. An on-demand movie is excludable because Netflix can hide it behind a paywall. So only the people who pay get to watch that movie. It's non-rival though, because the same people can watch the same movie, or sorry, because multiple people can watch that same movie at the same time. If I go home and I watch, I don't know, pick your favorite movie at home, You can also be somewhere else in the world watching that same movie at the exact same time as me. Great. The third kind of good is a common resource. Common resources are non-excludable but rival. An example is fish in the ocean. Uh, with fish in the ocean, here nature is the supplier because nature is providing the stock of fish in the ocean, and fishermen are the consumers. They're the ones going out, taking the fish out of the ocean for their own benefit. It's very difficult to prevent certain people from fishing in the ocean. All you need is a boat and a net, and then you can go out there and do your thing. To prevent certain people from fishing requires an enormous surveillance and enforcement apparatus that is largely that's very, very difficult to enact. As a result, it's hard to exclude people from consuming fish in the ocean. And fish in the ocean are a non-excludable good. On the other hand, fish in the ocean are rival because no two fishermen can catch the same fish at the same time, right? It's either I've caught it or you've caught it. Um, Common resources tend to be natural resources like this. So you can think of uh, clean air or unpolluted air as a common resource. Um, you can think of water as a common resource, and their non-excludability can present real challenges in those markets. The fourth and final type of good, and the type of good that we're going to focus on the most, is called a public good. A public good is both non-excludable and non-rival. That's to say, it's really difficult to prevent particular people from consuming the good, and it's possible for multiple people to consume that good at the same time. An example is national defense. If a country has a national defense system, it is difficult to provide that system for some people in the nation, but not others. Um, you know, because the United States military provides our national defense, all of us are protected by that, or I should say, it's very difficult for the US military to defend certain people in the US and not others. They can't just defend the people who are honest in their tax returns or pay a certain amount in their tax returns by um, anyone who is in the country gets to consume the benefits of national defense. At the same time, though, national defense is non-rival. Multiple people can consume it at the same time. Um, you know, just because I'm enjoying security from foreign threats, that doesn't mean you can't enjoy security from foreign threats at the same time. In fact, because I'm enjoying it, you are also enjoying it, as a function of the non-excludability and the non-rival nature of the good. All right. Um, Over the course of the next two lecture videos, we'll talk a little bit more about the problems that can come up with public goods in particular, or non-excludable goods in particular, and then talk about how to think of demand for public goods. All right. Great job, y'all. I will see you in the next video.